Hello, brave, beautiful, beloved soul friends. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being you. If you are on a healing journey of any kind, then you have come to the right place. I am here to help provide insights about understanding and healing unconscious body minds while liberating and expanding consciousness, and to provide some encouragement along the healing journey through life. Because no matter who we are or what we are facing, there is always healing potential, even in the greatest depths of darkness and impossibility. The light and the love always have the power and the potential to prevail. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for being exactly who and where you are. I'm going to share a little story and then explain some insights and the significance of it and share some little healing journey encouragement. Once upon a time, there was a park that little Kristin used to go to. And there were several years of good, positive memories and experiences created at this local park. Okay? Fast forward to 2018, where this body is a grown adult and going through some very intense healing journey challenges. And please explore part 1 of my known documentary series for insight into what was happening at that season and what has led me to who and where I am today and the work that I do. The link for that is in the video description below. In 2018, Kristin went to this park but had no memories of experiencing that exact location from childhood. And during that unique season, Kristin could not create new conscious explicit memories due to multiple forms of severe amnesia. In 2019, 1 year later, Kristin was again at this same local park with no memory of being there the year before or of experiencing that location during childhood. And in 2019, as well as 2018, there were multiple states of consciousness while living with adaptable consciousness condition, which you can find out more about in theses numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10 of my Implicit Revelations case study, freely available. You can explore more in the video description below. And several of the states of consciousness existing and operating independently of one another were age-regressive states of consciousness. And so there were actually manifestations of the inner child in 2018 and 2019 who went to play at this park. And yet there was still no conscious memory of experiencing that park when the self was a child originally, and actually like physically a child, not dissociatively age regressing into childhood states. And then, early in 2020, the spirit and body were going through some miraculous healing ventures. The mind and the body had been completely disconnected. And a lot of that was due to severe implicit trauma fragments, memory fragments, existing and operating with such independency that stuff couldn't connect. If the mind and body tried to connect, it would activate those implicit memory fragments and cause intense trauma responses. So it's just like easier for the unconsciousness to be like, we're just not going to connect the mind and the body, because when we try to, it's really scary and challenging. So we are going to evolutionarily adapt and just not have a mind and body that connect at all. And so the self, the consciousness, could experience lucidity in the mind and yet have no idea what was happening in the physical body. Literally, like something could be going on and there would just be no awareness of it. Or there was some awareness of the body, but the mind was just having everything was scattered and incoherent, and it was just difficult. So the consciousness could really only exist in the mind or the body, but not both simultaneously. And so early in 2020, okay, so we've looked at 2018, 2019, now early 2020, experiencing things at this one same local park, okay? Excuse me, Babas. Kitty cat. No, no, no. No, no, no. Okay? And so in early 2020, this brain and the body said, you know what? We are going to get reconnected, because all of this stuff deserves to be with all of this stuff. We deserve that. We deserve to be connected. We deserve to be healthy. We deserve all of it. And so early 2020 was a very intense season of reconnecting the mind and the body, which included being able to activate all these different implicit trauma memory fragments and staying in presence so it could all make new connections. Is basically the most indescribable experience of what some would call hell on earth. the opposite of heaven on earth, very much so. It was the definition of disconnection and darkness and terror to the most profound degree of unimaginable tribulation, to put it very lightly. And this brain and the body would go to that same park and try to get grounded in nature while going through these excruciating processes of healing and trying to get reconnected. And this was especially when going in between different like yoga classes and stuff, and just trying to allow the mind and the body to be present. And this was one of the most intense seasons of healing, to the point where there was actually about 2.5 months of a non-stop dissociative blackout, to the most intense degree. Very, very gnarly stuff, to very much put it lightly. It was getting to the absolute core foundation of everything that had ever caused any kind of health challenge. And again, you can explore more in part 1 of the Known documentary series to kind of see what this journey has been and stuff. Okay. And so this, again, happened at that same park. Okay, stay with me. We're getting to some very magical things, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys. It's really, really magical, so stick with me, okay? All right, and so this is in the early 2020. When this was happening, there was no access to information about being there in 2019, in 2018, or the original experiences from early childhood when the brain and the body were first introduced to this park before there were health challenges. Okay? And then it gets even more beautifully, divinely, miraculously epic. Later on in 2020, the mind and the body were starting to reconnect. And there were some miracles. There were still some challenges. And the age-regressive states of consciousness had started to have new connections, and we're actually collectively going through the final stages of halted neurodevelopment. There had been a bunch of different age-regressive states, and then the amnesic walls were gradually broken down, and then all the different age-regressive states of consciousness started to flow more fluidly rather than being so independent. And then together, they went through a journey in 2020 of going through their final stages of neurodevelopment that had been halted for this brain and body's entire life because of suppressed childhood trauma. Okay? During this season, the brain and the body were literally reliving childhood implicitly. And I'll leave a link to the video below. In the video description below, I'll leave a link to the video I'm about to describe. But during one of the theses in the Implicit Revelations, Kristin expressed hundreds of different types of dissociation. And one of the coolest and most miraculous and astounding forms was the implicit unconscious reliving of distinct pieces of procedural memory data, implicit emotional and procedural memory data, where data from like the first 12 years of life was operating independently and exclusively providing navigation without any ability to explicitly remember the experiences that had created them. It's really, really miraculous in so many ways. So explore that in the video description below. It's one of the coolest videos of the known documentary series. And so later on in 2020, okay, there's the earlier 2020, right? And later on in 2020, stuff has started to get not so scary. The scary stuff had kind of petered and smoothed out a little bit, but the left and right brain hemispheres were still completely disconnected, and there's still adaptable consciousness condition, and there were these age regressive states of consciousness who were then going through their final stages of halted neurodevelopment. During this season, she would frequently go to that exact same park and have childhood-like experiences of, running on the grass and playing on the swings or whatever a child does. And hugging trees. I vaguely remember there was a lot of hugging trees. And during that season, she again could not remember the experiences from 2019 or 2018 or from early childhood, original childhood. So all of these experiences I've described from early childhood, 2018, 2019, early 2020, and then later on in 2020, these were all at the exact same park. Very miraculously. Very miraculously. And then in early 2021, the brain and the body were starting to get connected. The mind and body were totally connected. The left and brain hemispheres were almost all the way connected. The corpus callosum had really healed a whole bunch, and the age regressive states of consciousness had completed their halted stages of neurodevelopment, and all of the implicit memory fragments that had disrupted navigation and regulation were totally transmuted. But then Kristin realized she could not remember her entire life at all. Not childhood, not adulthood, not the past several years of Implicit Revelations case study ventures or healing journey magic. None of it was accessible consciously. But all of the fragments of that information still existed, they just didn't have connection. Another unique manifestation of dissociation. Okay, so a year and a half ago, Kristin couldn't remember that park from early childhood. She couldn't remember explicitly those experiences in 2018, 2019, early 2020, or later on in 2020. None of that was consciously accessible. Now, the experiences from the intense healing journey, 2018, 2019, 2020, and then even the process of this healing journey in 2021, all of that information is now fully processed, and the implicit fragments from those experiences are connected, firstly, and secondly, they have connections with explicit information. So before, there was no explicit narrative. You couldn't remember it as a past experience. And the implicit pieces of it didn't have connection. So if they became activated, they were activated independently and disrupted navigation or regulation. They caused weird flashbacks or, weird sensations or dysregulation, etc. Okay? So now all of that is fully and completely processed even when it wasn't able to be remembered at all. And then when it was starting to be remembered, it was scary to remember it because it came in flashbacks. And there's distinct connection with that original childhood self who first experienced that park before there were these unique health challenges. Okay? So, firstly, I want to share a piece of encouragement. No matter who you are or where you are or what type of healing journey you're in, there is always, always, always hope, even in the greatest depths of darkness and impossibility. Not only can I remember my entire life, but the not so good pieces no longer affect my navigation and regulation in my unconscious body mind. They can't touch me anymore. It can't affect me. And the good stuff, like playing at that park during original childhood, is positively accessible and positively affects navigation and regulation. And so I'm at that park, I can be directly connected with the self who first experienced it, rather than having awkward connections with the self who is in all these very intense seasons of healing at that same location. So no matter who you are or where you're at, there is always hope for healing. There is always possibility. And no matter what you're going through, keep going. No matter who you are, where you're at, what you're going through, how long you've been going through it, how impossible it seems, keep going. This entire healing journey, all these years, 2018, 19, 20, 21, and here where I am now, Kristin didn't have like a therapist or a life coach or anything, and navigated all of those waters on her own. And it was such a blessing because I've been able to learn so much through it. And that's what's led to the Implicit Revelations case study and the creation of all this magic that I have to offer. And you can find out more about my offerings through KRISTIN'S Consciousness Consultancy in the video description below. But it's been such a blessing to go through this because I've learned so much and I've grown so much. The insights that I carry aren't things I ever could have learned sitting in a psychology class. The things that I've learned aren't things that I ever could have learned any other way. And now that wisdom is deeply ingrained in me and will benefit me just eternally. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all of that because it's grown me into who and where I am today. And I really love who and where I am today. And even more so, it's given me so many gifts to be of service to you. I am here to serve as a healing journey guide, to provide understanding and healing for unconscious body minds while liberating and expanding consciousness through my divine expressions, my creations, and my services, through my energy and my magic. It's what I'm here for. And so this journey, as intense as it has been, it has gifted me with so many gifts to gift you. So just a little piece of encouragement. Keep going, no matter who you are, where you're at, or what you're going through. And now to dive into some of the insights about this story, especially in relation with thesis number 29 and 30 of my Implicit Revelations case study. And you can find out more about these ideas in the video description below. There's statements and written key points about these ideas, and then each of them has a video series to go with it. So please explore more about thesis number 29 and number 30 of my Implicit Revelations case study for more insights about what I'm about to share. The way the unconscious body-mind associates with the self affects how it associates with all components of reality. So there is a certain way that the unconscious body-mind associated with itself and thus associated with that park as our example here, okay? And there was a lack of association, right? In 2018, there was a lack of association with the self who was there many, many a couple decades ago. In 2019, there was lack of association with the self who was there in 2018. And in 2020, there was a lack of association with the self who was there in 2019, 2018. And in 2021, there was a lack of association with the self who was there those years before and many decades before. Okay? So the unconscious body-mind has a way of associating with itself, and that self-association subsequently affects how it associates with everything else. But the way the self associates with the self comes first. It's not the self associates with that park or that sound or that sight or that stimulus or that song, and there's that relationship. Before there's any of that relationship with outer components of reality, there is the way the self associates with the self. And then everything else comes secondary to that. Okay? And that's a key component to understanding the unconscious body-mind and how this information is organized and affects navigation and regulation. Because the unconscious body-mind has two jobs. The unconscious mind provides navigation, and the unconscious body provides regulation, and they are constantly interacting and affecting each other. Navigation styles are like, oh, I'm going to activate these regulatory protocols, and then the way that the regulation is going actually affects the way memories are activated to provide navigation unconsciously. Okay, so they're constantly interacting with each other. Okay, this is where stuff gets really cool. It gets like really incredibly cool. Ah, so cool. Okay, so cool. I am here now in mid-late 2022, and the way that my unconscious body-mind navigates that park has direct connection with original early childhood and the positive memories there, directly connected with the self that is here today. The inner child and the inner life partner are directly connected. Simultaneously, all of the experiences at that same location that were more recent than the original times of experiencing that park a couple decades ago, the more recent experiences from the past 2 years are totally integrated to the point where they don't affect navigation and regulation. There's direct connection with data from a couple decades ago with here and now, and information that is more recent and would traditionally affect navigation and regulation more is integrated, and it doesn't affect navigation and regulation at all. At all. So not only was it reorganized and recovered to the point where the implicit fragments no longer disrupted navigation and regulation, and they were miraculously connected with explicit autobiographical details that literally did not exist in the unconscious body-mind at all. Okay? But the navigation now directly comes from neural wiring from a couple decades ago in relation with a brand new present moment, where normally more recent information would be the most directly accessible information to the unconscious body-mind. Okay? And in relation with the 3 subconscious layers diagram, for instance, and you can explore more about that in theses number 22 through 29 of my Implicit Revelations case study, and there's also sharings of it on a couple different web pages on my website, including KristinWindsor.com/known and KristinWindsor.com/contact. Okay? But with the 3 subconscious layers diagram, traditionally, there'd be the inner life partner who's affected, who is in the first subconscious layer, who is affected by the inner best friend in the second subconscious layer, and those memories from a couple decades ago would be in the third subconscious layer, not totally accessible from the first layer. But instead, the tip-top first layer is directly bridged with the third layer, and the second layer is just so connected, it's smushed, and now it's all just bridged. Okay? kind of hard to picture unless you could check it out. So go explore my web pages to find out what I'm talking about. The 3 subconscious layers diagram is amazing. It's shared in a lot of videos of my known documentary series, Theses 22 through 29. So you can just check out that whole thing if you want to. And there's also sharings of it in some of my healing journey programs. Several of my programs actually use that. And in couple different web pages and stuff, so you can kind of explore that if you're interested in knowing what I was just talking about right there. I did not work with any memory data to accomplish all of this. Before, those original childhood experiences were not accessible. There was no conscious ability to remember them. But now I can fully remember many of them, and they come back more and more as the journey progresses. But I didn't work with any memories to accomplish that. And I didn't have to look at the memories from 2018, 19, and 20 to totally rewrite them. They're totally reorganized and rewritten, and I didn't have to look at any past experiences, memory data, or neural wiring to accomplish that. Okay? It's amazing. And so the entire way the unconscious body-mind associates with itself is now shifted. And the way that it associates with components of reality, including that park, is totally shifted without touching any past experiences, any details of neural wiring, or any specific memories. It's incredible. And so thesis number 30 expresses that the unconscious body-mind associates with itself in a particular way, and then that affects how it associates with all the components of reality. And this branches off of the polyvagal theory and the neurobiological social engagement system as a way to understand the organization and structure and activity of the unconscious body-mind. And you can find out more about that in, I think, thesis number 4 of my Implicit Revolutions case study, a little earlier on. And then thesis number 29 expresses that when consciousness teaches the brain and the body to socially engage with itself, the process of nurturing internal attachments indirectly reconstructs the unconscious body-mind by expanding neural connectivity, improving neural content, and improving brain-body regulation. Basically, the whole unconscious body-mind was built on a process of social engagement in relation with attachment well-being that created the implicit energetic pathways that now provide navigation and regulation in every nanosecond, affecting all of personal experience beyond awareness. Because approximately 99.08% of inner realities exist and operate beyond conscious knowledge, which is another of my concepts through my implicit revelations. And so the way that Kristin got through all of this, 2018, 2019, 2020, all the things I described, all the mind-body disconnectivity, the different states of consciousness, the dysregulation, all of it, the amnesia, all of it, healing from chronic dissociative age regression, progressing through halted stages of neurodevelopment, all of it, recovering memories and rewriting memories from all of life without touching any of it, all of it, I'm talking all of it, every single piece of that, all of it was accomplished through daily application of thesis number 29, where consciousness taught the brain and the body to socially engage with itself through distinction and connection between self aspects. It began where different people inside of one brain and body were socially engaging with each other, and then it grew to the concept of the awareness of the self being distinct from and connected with all the different independent states of consciousness. And then it's grown and grown and grown and expanded and stayed the same and yet shifted. And that now there's the awareness of consciousness being distinct from and connected with the experiencer of consciousness, especially the inner life partner, the present moment experiencer, and the inner child, or the foundational self aspects of the inner experiencer. Through this process of social self-engagement, the unconscious body-mind learned a new way to associate with itself in relation with attachment well-being. And that process reconstructed the entire unconscious body-mind. So every health challenge that was happening 2018, 2019, 2020 was gradually transformed through this process of social self-engagement. You can explore more in the video description below. There's a whole list of all the ways thesis number 29 has provided healing transformation. And then this process continued. Kristin regained the ability to create new conscious explicit memories towards the end of 2020, and gradually growing in clarity, etc., over the many, many months. And at the beginning of 2021, Kristin couldn't remember her life at all. By the end of 2021, she could remember most of it, but definitely not all of it. And now, it's not just that I can remember life, it's that I feel more like me than ever before because of the way it's shifted automated navigation and regulation in the unconscious body-mind. Okay? So not only is this story that I'm sharing to be of encouragement, like, hey, no matter who you are, where you're at, there's always possibility for healing, restoration, loving liberation, and radical, life-shifting, uplifting transformation. But we can really explore some really profound and unique insights about the unconscious body-mind through this example. The unconscious body-mind had a particular way of associating with itself and thus associating with all components of reality. And there was so much independent activity that it could not fully associate with environmental settings with effective navigation, basically. There wasn't effective navigation. If there was, then Kristin would have been able to go to that park and remember any time she's been at that park, and yet still be in a brand new present moment that's unaffected by any time she had been at that park. But neither of those were true for a season. There were times where she would go and she couldn't remember every time she'd been at that park, but she was implicitly reliving unpleasant, implicit fragments from past times of being at that park when there was healing stuff going on. Okay? But now I can go to that park and remember all the different times that I've been there, but also be in a brand new moment that's unaffected by those times from 2 decades ago to the last few years. Okay? And the way that all of this got rewritten was by practicing social self-engagement. Didn't have to look at the environment or the external stimulus, didn't have to look at the internal memories, didn't have to look at the past experiences, but all of it got rewritten effectively, which is really like a big goal. Like if you're trying to transform something, you're not trying to change past experiences because those experiences literally don't exist. All that actually exists now is present neural wiring. And memories provide navigation, which affects regulation. And so we're not actually trying to rewrite the past. We're trying to rewrite presently existing neural wiring so it can more effectively provide navigation and regulation to improve the quality of experience for consciousness. Because consciousness exists and operates independently of the brain-body system. Okay? And so this story is just a beautiful and profound and remarkable example of the application of thesis number 29 and number 30. Okay? So thesis number 30 is all about the unconscious body-mind has a very specific way of associating with itself in relation with attachment well-being, and that's important to understand. And then from that, the self has a way of associating with all components of reality, different people, places, things, stimulus, experiences, all of it. Okay? And if we want to shift the way the self is associating with other stuff, for example, healing certain relationships or transforming a triggering stimulus, etc., then it's actually more effective to shift how the self associates with the self, and then everything else will naturally start to shift. Rather than looking at those relationships that you want to transform, rather than looking at that triggering stimulus that you want to transform, it's actually more effective to start shifting how the self associates with the self in relation with attachment well-being. And then all of that other data affecting navigation and regulation will start to shift on its own, gradually and effectively. And thesis number 29 expresses that when consciousness teaches the brain and the body to socially engage with itself, the process of nurturing internal attachments rewrites the unconscious body-mind, expanding neural connectivity, improving neural content, and improving brain-body regulation. And so instead of looking at past experiences, instead of looking at neural wiring, instead of looking at memory data, we can actually just teach the self to socially engage with the self while nurturing internal attachments. And that process transforms all of it effectively and gradually, cultivating the greatest steps of transformation imaginable while having an enjoyable healing journey. Because it's not really fun to look at past experiences that you either can't remember because of amnesia, or that it's painful to look at because it was painful to go through. And it's not really fun to look at all the ways that the brain and the body are dysregulated and causing all these issues in your life. But it is fun to practice loving presence and to hang out and sing and dance and laugh and play. And that's what these practices of social self-engagement include. And so just use these insights to expand your awareness of healing journey magic. And if you want to dive deeper, I have a wide variety of healing journey offerings, and I would be absolutely honored to serve as your healing journey guide. The key component that's gotten Kristin from everything I just described to where I am today were the Creative Connections Mirror Play with Mirror Power Healing Journey program and the Subconscious Unveiling and Transformation Journeys, which is offered through a service. Okay, those are like the top of the top of the top of the top of healing journey transformation. If you're ready to go all in and watch your life change for the better in ways you never imagined possible, it's a complete journey of total transformation and loving liberation. You literally rewrite the entire unconscious body mind, but while practicing loving presence with your inner experiencer and nurturing your internal attachment needs, while playing in mirrors and having fun. Playing in mirrors and having fun. Total transformation. But it's just fun. And you hang out in mirrors. And you laugh and you cry and you sing and you explore miraculous wonders of your own consciousness. It's incredible. It's truly incredible. It's truly incredible. There's also a wide variety of other healing journey services and creations that I offer, though. If playing in mirrors isn't quite your thing, but you're interested in this whole transformation, liberation, restoration stuff, right? There's also a wide variety of potential services and creations I offer. And the reason that I am so passionate about sharing these specific things that I have is because every single one has been the reason that my life changed for the better. The self-hypnosis sessions that I offer, the merchandise that has different mantras and themes and ideas, and the ideas that they have on different cups and shirts, the healing journey programs, the healing journey videos, the cooking play shop and inner child hand dance and the guided meditations and the affirmations, the subconscious affirmations and healing into happiness and implicit transformation and restoring consciousness and the liberated consciousness. All of these different creations are the reason that I got here from where I was. Every single one of them played a paramount piece of total restoration, transformation, and liberation. And because I've seen how these creations have changed my life for the better from the inside out, even from the greatest depths of darkness and impossibility, is why I am so excited to share them with you. So whether you just want to get a t-shirt or a mug or like a 5-year healing journey program, I have so much magic to offer, and I am absolutely honored to share these divine expressions from my heart to yours for the greatest, highest, and most glorious good of all. I also have other healing journey services, from consciousness consultations, which is just a fancy way to say that I serve as a guide and am able to offer my wisdom and assistance no matter who you are, where you're at, what you're going through, or where you're headed to. And there's also energetic ceremonies and subconscious mapping. So there's a whole lot of different magics, and I would just be absolutely honored to serve as your healing journey guide and to share this creativity and wisdom from my heart to yours, to be of service and to encourage the healing journey of life to continue evolving to its maximum potential. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Thank you for checking out my content. It is an honor to share the journey. It is an honor to share the miracles. It is an honor to share the insights. And, you know, whether you're just kind of curiously exploring this and keeping these things lightly in your awareness and just staying curious about life, or whether you're in an intense healing journey and using this to catalyst you forward, whether you just kind of browse my content in the background, or whether you connect with me through my Passion Purpose Soul Bliss, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, and thank you for being you, and thank you for creating space to explore these creations. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day, and I will see you in another content creation.